Tonight, the boy who nearly died in a playground. Trapped by the tide, holding on for dear life. And a man's best friend in an emergency. Juliet meets the four-legged Lifesavers. Children's playgrounds are now being built with safety as an absolute priority. Modern ones like this have got a lot of the old steel fittings replaced by wood and rubber. And the floor is made of stuff that absorbs impact and prevents serious injury. But even so, nearly 30,000 children a year need hospital treatment after accidents in the playground. 10-year-old Jonathan George from Beccles in Suffolk is a very lucky boy. His life was saved after an accident in his local playground when his neighbours banded together and formed a human chain to pass on first aid information from an ambulance officer who was miles away. Their quick thinking helped prevent a frightening accident from turning into a tragedy.
Please help!
There was no movement at all. It just seemed as though we were talking to no one.
Get an ambulance!
My child plays out there, and it could have been my child.
Try and get the recess doors.
I kept my fingers crossed behind my back that he'd be all right, but I wouldn't have bet on it.
Oh, please. That's Kristen.
One day in June this year, Jonathan met up with his friends Hayley and Emily after school as usual.
We come down here for a chat.
In this reconstruction, the children are played by actors.
Nothing you need to know.
I know Jonathan very well. We very close friends, and we talk together a lot about things.
We got bored at home.
Nothing to do.
We sort of hang around together a lot and go down the park and play games together. So we all know him well.
But you're laughing stock at the school. Oh, that's easy. Anybody can do that.
I bet you can't. Don't want to.
Exactly. What are you doing now?
Just playing. Why are you playing with a rope? That's what I usually do. No, you don't. Then what are you trying to prove? Nothing. Then why don't you come down? No.
Stop being daft and come down. Dangerous. Kids. I know.
You're a kid.
As the girls chatted about their plans for the evening, Jonathan ignored what they said and continued playing with the rope.
Yeah, no, but you're not.
Nobody had any inkling of what was about to happen.
Go out, she's got to pop up to the school. You come round if you want.
Me and Hayley, we were sitting on the end of the slide just talking, weren't taking no notice of Jonathan.
The accident was a freak of chance. Jonathan had slipped with the rope around his neck. Now he was struggling for his life. But for vital moments, the girls didn't notice what was happening.
We turned round to see what he was up to, and he was just sort of hanging there.
Oh, my God! Pick him up! I can't hold him up! Oh, my God! I can't reach! God, get some help!
We tried to get the rope from his neck when we realised what was wrong and it wouldn't budge, and that's just getting tighter and tighter.
That afternoon, Sean Chenery was outside washing his car. It was very lucky he was there.
Please help! There's a boy in the playground and he's got rope round his neck. Help!
We looked over to the playground, and the young boy was just like hanging from a piece of rope on the climbing frame.
Get an ambulance!
Fortunately, Sean had done a first aid course.
I just thought he was dead instantly once I'd seen him. His head was blue all over, and I just thought he'd gone. I picked him up off the rope. Once I'd undone his neck from the rope, he just folded over my arm. It was just like trying to hold a bag of water. I thought he'd squashed his windpipe and that he'd gone already. There was no life whatsoever.
Maxine, quick!
Have you got an ambulance?
Yeah, there's one on the way.
He's been cut down, but he's not breathing. When the call came through, my immediate thoughts was he breathing? Was he unconscious? And if he wasn't breathing, then to get him breathing as quickly as possible.
Does anyone know first aid?
My neighbour Maxine was shouting what condition he was in, and I was then telling the woman on the end of the phone, and she was telling me what to look out for.
Is he breathing?
Is he breathing?
He's not breathing. What?
He's got a pulse.
He's got a pulse.
Yeah, he's got a pulse.
He's not breathing, but he's got a pulse.
He's not breathing, but he's got a pulse.
In all honesty, I had to think, I felt the worst.
Hold his tongue. He'd swallowed his tongue partly the way down his throat, and I removed his tongue, and he started wheezing very slowly, but he still had a fast pulse.
Is he conscious?
No, his eyes have rolled round.
He's unconscious and his eyes are rolling.
He's unconscious and his eyes are rolling.
If he's breathing and he's breathing on his own, we need to put him in the recovery position.
Put him in the recovery position.
Put him in the recovery position.
Look, we need to put him in the recovery position.
Yeah, he's in the recovery position.
She was very good. She was very,
Then I want
very
him
calm,
immediately.
very reassuring. Step by step, she was telling me like the first aid procedures.
It's nice to know that there was someone there to help me if anything had gone wrong. Where is the ambulance?
Come on!
The ambulance control passed on all the details of Jonathan's condition to the emergency services, so they knew what to expect, vital in such an unusual accident. Jonathan's mother got there at the same time.
I was really all on edge. And, you know, I just... tears streaming down.
I was blaming myself. I was saying I could have got him down quicker.
I was pushed aside and I was relieved of it, but I didn't want to be because I wanted to see him go, you know what I mean?
That's it. Well done, Jonathan.
On the way to hospital, Jonathan began to have a fit. His condition was getting worse. The hospital needed to know.
Can you call the hospital? Tell them trauma alert.
The ambulance men radioed ahead, so we had plenty of warning and we could assemble the team well before he arrived.
What's going on? Hi. Hello, 10-year-old hanging from Beccles. What?
A hanging in a child is very, very rare indeed. Even for doctors, they're still frightened because it's rare. It is a child. You think of your own children, and you think of those that haven't made it, and you just want to get it right. So there is an element of fear. It goes as soon as you see the patient.
He's got more moisture in than it's only at the end state. He's had hardly any oxygen because he can't keep the oxygen mask on. Jonathan. Do we know how long that took right down? Are you all right there, Carl?
The risk of brain damage increases with each minute that we haven't got control of the airway. The priority is to keep him so still that we can deliver oxygen. He has to be stuffed with oxygen, to put it bluntly. I can't say I was optimistic about whether he would be brain damaged eventually or not.
Jonathan was sent for a CAT scan, which would tell if his brain had been damaged. It would be 24 hours before the results were known.
As soon as he's finished at the CAT scan, one of our doctors will come and have a chat with you.
I sat twisting my fingers and my thumbs and worrying and shaking and crying. It was just waiting. It was almost unbearable.
When it came, the news was good. No brain damage at all.
Everything that could have gone in his favour did go in his favour. We were congratulating ourselves because he had unexpectedly woken up very early. He was a very, very lucky boy.
I opened my eyes and saw my mum. I can remember hanging from the clothing frame, shouting for help, but nothing came out. I think I slipped. I was lucky the neighbours were there to help, especially Sean.
I shudder to think what could have happened. And I just thank God that he's still here.
All the people that helped save my life, just say thank you and good job they were there.
Water can be a dangerous environment, however much we enjoy being in it, and all of us can find ourselves in trouble when we least expect it. Hopefully, though, there'll be somebody around like a lifeguard to rescue us. Today in Plymouth, I'm going to experience what it feels like not only to be rescued by man, but by his best friend, a dog.
Not so much a new piece of rescue equipment as a traditional one, these men are working with a Newfoundland dog. Weighing in at around 14 stone, it's pound for pound the strongest pulling animal in the world. Its owner, Tony Mayer, is a keen advocate of using the dogs as part of lifeguard teams.
I think it's the most beautiful dog in the world. It has tremendous strength and a very deep sensitivity. It has a great tradition of life-saving in the sea, and we'd like to see that tradition revived.
Having got into position, it's my turn to play the swimmer in trouble, and that's Tony's cue to action stations.
It's the lifeguard that does the life-saving. The dog is there to assist. The lifeguard passes the orange torpedo buoy to the casualty in the water. When the dog arrives, he gives the end of the rope to the dog. At that point, then, the dog takes over as a propulsion unit, if you like. What gives the dog its tremendous power in the water is the fact that it's got webbed feet. It also has a very, very specific swimming action, which is unlike any other breed of dog. It's almost like a breaststroke. It can pull weights that no human being could pull.
These Newfoundlands are primarily using their strength as a potential lifesaver, but perhaps the most valuable asset a dog has in terms of search and rescue is its nose.
The priority is to search for any...
Sniffer dogs have long been used at disaster scenes such as the Mexican earthquake in 1985, and more recently in Oklahoma City after the federal building bomb earlier this year. Here in Britain, dogs are also trained for mountain rescue work, but for the first time, this group of volunteers, called Canine Search and Rescue, have decided to specialise.
For about 15 years, I've been working with Border Collie dogs, training them mainly for mountain rescue work. One day in 1988, we were called to an incident in Scotland which was very different to any incident we'd ever been on before. Lockerbie was something that we were not prepared for. We were only mountain rescue searchers, going into a potentially explosive, destructive urban catastrophe.
After Lockerbie, Canine decided to train specifically for collapsed building work. Here, at this demolition site, volunteers have agreed to be buried alive beneath tons of debris and rubble. The aim is to test the dog's power of search. This may be an exercise, but for Jill, buried inside the building, it feels real.
The dog is sent out to perform a very slow search. It has to, use its sense of smell and to alert the handler. We try to encourage an alert which is a digging and a barking alert.
Moments later, a relieved Jill is pulled clear of the wreckage. An old hangover from mountain rescue training is the ability to abseil into inaccessible locations. The dogs are also trained to be highly agile and responsive to command, both at height and on loose, unstable surfaces. Canine dogs even have special footwear.
Let's just try a little walk in those, Gail. Let's try a little walk in. Come on.
They may look amusing, but the shoes can protect the dog's paws from broken glass and chemicals. The canine operation has impressed rescue services like the North Yorkshire Fire Brigade, who've put the voluntary service on their list of emergency specialists.
It has detected the exact place where it was, and working with the fire and rescue services in these sort of situations, that is very complementary to our work in order that we can then get hands-on and do the rescue, get into where the casualty is.
Next week, fireworks go on sale again, and these next few weeks are likely to be just as dangerous as firework night itself. But no one need ever get injured by fireworks if everyone followed a few simple rules and precautions. This year, we've produced this leaflet in conjunction with the Department of Trade and Industry, and it should be free in the shops selling fireworks. The watchword is be safe, not sorry, and we'll be devoting the whole of our programme on November the 3rd to reinforcing these safety points in the hope that fewer people will be sorry.
It's totally unrecognisable. You can't recognise what's happening unless you've actually experienced it before.
Apart from the headache, it's quite painless, really, and you just do not realise that it's happening to you.
My first words were, is Peter okay? Because I thought, well, I don't want to be here if he's not here.
We were fortunate that people got to us in time and saved our lives.
Because what we heard afterwards was another half hour, and he wouldn't be.
What happened to those people could happen to any one of us who uses gas, coal or oil appliances to heat our homes. They were talking about carbon monoxide poisoning, which killed more than 70 people last year. And tonight we're going to show you what it'd be like if you came across that kind of incident. You'd have to act quickly to ensure everybody's safety, including your own. So, would you recognise the symptoms? Would you know what to do? And the winter, when the heating's on, is the dangerous time.
What's the matter with you two? You look terrible.
Oh, Bob, we feel dreadful, really fluey. It's come on so quickly. Sammy's got it too. He's been sick, so I've put him to bed.
David doesn't look too good. Is he all right?
I think he's just dozed off. It's been like that for a while.
Are you sure it's just flu? Something's wrong.
Listen, if they all have flu-like symptoms or headaches, they could have carbon monoxide poisoning.
What? But I don't want to worry them if there's no need.
Check the heating. Nearly all carbon monoxide poisoning happens when the heating's on. Check the fire. The base of the flame must be blue. If it's orange or yellow, or you can see any soot, it could be faulty.
It's yellow, and there's soot around here too. So what shall I do?
Well, you need to turn the fire off immediately. Then open the windows to get fresh air into the room.
OK.
Get everyone outside now. And remember, the longer that you're in the room, the more chance there is of you being affected too.
Right, OK. Janice, can you get up?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Carbon monoxide poisoning's likely to make her feel dizzy, and she may have real problems walking.
OK.
You'll probably need help.
Right. I'm just going to get someone. I won't be long.
But don't forget to call an ambulance.
Yeah, of course. Oh, Sheila! Sheila, can you ring for an ambulance? Janice and Dave aren't well. Some kind of poisoning from the gas fire. Sammy's been sick too. Excuse me! Can you help me, please?
What is it?
I need some help. I've got to get them out of the house.
The carbon monoxide is stopping oxygen getting into their blood. The sooner you get them away from it, the more likely they are to recover.
But this guy seems to have passed out.
He may well be unconscious, so check that he's breathing.
Oi, mate! Can you hear me?
OK. He's breathing. He's all right.
If he wasn't breathing, you'd need to breathe for him. Now, get the child out.
Right, I'll go get Sammy.
Children are affected more quickly than adults.
Sammy.
So they're in more danger.
Take you outside. Come on. Open it. Look, there we are. Let's get your dressing gown as well.
He's been away from the fire, so he may not be so badly affected.
Is Sammy all right?
Yeah, he's OK. Hang on a minute, mate. I'll give you a hand.
Right, let's get him out then.
No, you should never move a casualty unless it's absolutely necessary. And now that the windows and doors are open, there should be enough ventilation. If he's unconscious and you move him, you might hurt him by accident.
But we can't leave him here like this.
You're right. Carefully put him in the recovery position. Once you've done that, keep checking that he's breathing and he's got a pulse. And someone must stay with him until the ambulance arrives.
If you stay with him, I'll go and check on the others.
Right.
So if you or others are feeling drowsy and the base of the flame of the gas fire isn't burning blue, then switch it off straight away and get some fresh air. Of course, there's a lot you can do to prevent trouble. Simple things like making sure that the chimney is regularly swept and that gas and solid fuel appliances are regularly serviced by a competent engineer. Carbon monoxide is one of the topics covered in the 999 Lifesaver Guide. And to get a copy, send a cheque for £2.50 made payable to BBC Education to 999 Lifesaver Guide 3, P.O. Box 7, London W5 2GQ. And we'll give you that address again later in the programme. With 5,500 miles of coastline around the United Kingdom, it's no wonder that people occasionally get cut off by the tide. In fact, more than occasionally, the Coast Guards have to rescue 300 people a year from that kind of predicament. That's nearly one a day on average. So you see, it really could happen to you. Now, the spring tides in the Bristol Channel are unusually high and nearly ended in disaster for three friends from Clevedon. Even their local knowledge couldn't help them.
Oh, Sophie, over it.
Well, I've got to ask my mum.
Your mum?
Yeah.
He has to ask his mum.
Ask his mum.
In our reconstruction, the boys are played by actors.
I've known Nick about 14 years now. Known Scott about 4 years, and we always go out and just sort of have a laugh and just enjoy ourselves. We go out climbing, we go out messing about on the beaches. We can tell each other anything. We trust each other.
Yeah, we've been friends for quite a while. We were throwing stones in the water, chasing each other, messing around. And we were walking towards the harbour, climbing up in the rocks and that, having a laugh. I know quite a bit about how dangerous the sea can be. Usually I'd check the tide times, but it's just one off this time I didn't.
I looked round and I seen the tide was getting pretty close to the cliffs. And I said, oh, let's go back. And they said, no, we're having a laugh. Let's carry on for 5 minutes.
That 5 minutes was to prove crucial.
That's not funny either. As soon as we looked back, we were seeing the tide. We just all started panicking.
The tide's coming in real quick. We're going to have to make a run for it. Come on. This way.
We were just scared, trying to get back.
Oh, we're not going to make it. We've got to go up the cliff, right? Up the cliff.
Most places is vertical cliffs. Halfway up, it changes from like nice strong stones to hold on to weak stones. Put your hand on and they just pull out the cliff.
All right, come on, let's go. Come on.
By now, they were getting really worried that they wouldn't find anywhere safe.
We're going to get away from the tide here. I don't know.
They'd found a tiny foothold, but the tide was still rising.
There was a small ledge about 6 inches wide, and we were all sort of huddled together on it, and hardly any foot space on it.
It's coming in really quickly. We're all right at the moment.
But Nick decided he'd have to do something.
Look, we just have to make a climb for it. Otherwise, we're just going to be stuck.
That is a bad idea. There's no way you're going to make it.
What else are we going to do?
I warned him not to go, and it was too dangerous. He wouldn't make it. But he still decided he was going to go round. He's a brilliant climber, but he doesn't think of the dangers. He just climbs. And I thought, never. He's not going to make that.
And he was right. The cliffs soon proved too much, even for a good climber like Nick.
I seen like Nick just falling through the air, and it took me about 3-4 seconds to convince myself that that was Nick. We seen him falling. I thought he was dead straight away because I thought didn't think the water was that deep. I thought he would have hit one of the rocks underneath. Then me and Scott just started panicking, and that's where we realised how much trouble we were in.
Come on! Give me a hand!
He started swimming, but he was going under a lot of the time as well. I stuck my hand out and grabbed him, pulled him into the rocks, and he went back under and he slipped out of my hand.
The waves were pulling him both ways away from me.
When I actually got out of the water, I kept having like visions of like really slow motion, me falling off that cliff. As I did fall, I just thought, I'm dead. I managed to grab hold onto the rocks. Even the undercurrent just pulled me straight off the rocks again. I was very worried, panicky, frustrated. My head was just going crazy. I thought, right, that's the worst problem's over with, in a sense. But it wasn't the worst problem because we still had the fear of the water rising up. The waves were just missing our feet. We didn't know if it would actually come up over our heads or anything, but I thought they would, the salt crew. I really thought they would.
Help!
We just really wanted to get out of there quick.
We were totally stuck this time. There was no way up. No, we couldn't go back. And we couldn't go forward, so we just had to sit it out on the ledge.
4 hours passed before they were spotted by Trin Harmon of Clevedon Sailing Club.
Oh, look, lads, over there, there's a boat.
Peterson, CP3, we have a small problem here.
The lifeboat from Weston-super-Mare was launched and arrived in 20 minutes. However, the state of the sea that day and the hidden rocks made their approach difficult.
We decided to go in bow first, which is the opposite way around to what we're taught, but it was right at the time.
If we'd have gone in backwards, we stood a greater possibility of damaging the engines and not getting back at all, and perhaps injuring ourselves.
Coming in then, be ready to jump.
We knew we only had like 2 seconds in, and it was straight back out again.
We went in nice and steadily. We were just about to touch the rock, a moderate wave just pushed us forward slightly, which was just enough to put us on the rock. At that split second, I left the boat onto the rock, and then I heard an almighty raunching noise, horrible noise. I'll never forget it. The bow of the boat scraping down the rock.
We hit the rocks quite hard. I think we went in 5 times altogether. We actually hit the boat nearly every time.
One lad was starting on the slippery slope of hypothermia. He was my first priority. I put my right hand in the air and clenched my fist, which is a signal to come to me.
Here we come.
The lad did hesitate for a split second, but he was persuaded on.
Give me a little push. So I thought, please don't fall. I don't want the same to happen again.
Request ambulance at Clevedon Slip. I say again, at Clevedon Slip.
And it was round in a big circle and back in for the second one.
I definitely felt relieved that we'd got off the cliffs and we were going back, and that's when the cold hit me.
The lifeboat men, I'm very thankful for them, and I expect I speak for all of us, because if they wouldn't have saved us, we might not be here, we might be dead.
They couldn't have done a better job. And when we got on the boat, I thought they were going to give us a right telling off that they were all right. If I know the tide times, I'll go for a walk along the beach, but I'm not going climbing the neck again. Never.
Next week, a little boy gets electrocuted on a railway line, and there's a train coming. A woman collapses on a country walk, and only her dog knows where she is. To get a copy of the 999 Lifesaver Guide, send a cheque for £2.50 made payable to BBC Education to BBC 999 Lifesaver Guide 3, PO Box 7, London W5 2GQ.